Kristen, and you're listening to Podcast and Amplify, a podcast for women entrepreneurs who want to amplify their voice and brand through podcasting and grow a wildly successful business. I'm the executive producer and host of 2 shows and an entrepreneur, and I love helping women grow their visibility, mindset, and business to the next level. Each week, I share tips on how to launch and leverage your podcast, and I'm bringing on the very best business leaders to give you advice on how to build your business empire. Let's amplify your voice and business. Welcome back to the Podcast and Amplify podcast. Today, I'm speaking with Carla Santamaria. Carla is a Latina Success Coach. She's also a first-generation immigrant. She was born in Honduras and raised in Miami, Florida. Carla believes that success is found at the intersection of mindset and purposeful action, and she uses that strategy to help her clients reach their dreams. She's also a firm believer in the power of positivity and hard work and putting out into the universe what you want reflected back to you. So I know she really is passionate about helping other Latinas, and that's why I wanted to have her on the show. And today we're going to talk about how to advocate for yourself as an entrepreneur, because I think we can get into these business owner roles and come up against obstacles where we do have to advocate for ourselves, and that might not always feel super comfortable. So Carla is going to share with us some tips around that. And welcome, Carla.
Hi, thanks for having me. I am really excited to be here. Yes, I'm really excited to talk today about self-advocacy. And yeah, like you mentioned, as entrepreneurs, as small business owners, we are going to come across obstacles, but it's what we do when we get there that really defines our trajectory and defines whether we succeed or not.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive in. And I want to ask you, why is it important that we create that skill and learn that habit, I guess, of advocating for ourselves as business owners?
So it's important to advocate for yourself as a small business owner because you have to recognize that no one else is going to do it for you. And I know that sounds really grim. And I'm thinking maybe if you're in business with your mom will do it for you just like you would do it for yourself. So shout out to all mothers out there advocating for their daughters. But in general, generally speaking, no one else is going to do it for you. No one else is going to have a vision for your business as clear as yours. No one else is going to know your true innermost potential and skill set. And so if you just let that vision go to waste, if you let your potential go to waste, if you decide not to go for your dreams, no one else is going to do it for you. So that is why self-advocacy is so important.
Yeah, I love that, because no one else is going to really own your vision and what you know to be true about yourself and what you're capable of, like you're going to do it, right? That's what I hear you saying.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And then, so what typically holds us back from advocating for ourselves?
I think what holds us back is the idea that we shouldn't. You know what I mean? And so there's this, a lot of times when people are in a place of growth in their life, they can sometimes feel like a fraud, and this is, imposter syndrome. Like we feel like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my God, everybody else knows what they're doing and not me. But when it comes to being a small business owner, and especially when it comes to self-advocacy, there's this feeling of inadequacy, as if, I don't deserve it, or I'm not going to go for it. So like there's this feeling of inadequacy combined with this fear of failure. And part of it is intrinsic. I think we're all our own worst critics in a way. But I think that an even bigger part of it is just living in a society that holds women to exceptionally high standards. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And there's like all these external messages that we're not enough, and that we're not enough unless we have the newest product that they're trying to sell us, or that we're not enough unless we do X, Y, or Z, or we're not enough unless
we're a certain size.
Right, a certain size, so that we're perfect wives or mothers or daughters, or that we have to be perfect at every single thing. And if you drop one ball, then all of a sudden you're not worth it. And like if you made one mistake in your business journey, you're not worth it. And so there's all these external messages and pressure that you know, that exists for women. So a lot of the time we internalize it. I mean, we are deep in this society. So unfortunately, just like that feeling of I don't deserve this, I'm not adequately prepared for this, or even why me? What makes me think I could do it? The subconscious beliefs. Yes.
Yeah,
really
the
hold
who
us
am
back.
I? Who am I to advocate for myself? And also, what I hear you saying too, and those high expectations are the stakes are higher for us, right? The stakes
Yes.
are incredibly high when you have that high level of expectation. So the feeling is that we have so much further to fall. And so to put
Yeah.
ourselves out there, I mean, that's scary.
Oh yes, but like growth starts right after your comfort zone.
Right.
And yes, and I think something else, you mentioned who am I to advocate for myself? And I certainly believe that there's that fear. I also think that sometimes we look at an obstacle and we don't realize it's an obstacle. We may look at it and think it's a dead end. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
so
Yes. We don't see it as a
yeah.
problem to solve. We see it as like the final no or the final decision or whatever.
Right, exactly. And so I think just really expanding our view, because I don't think anybody wakes up one day and says, today I am not going to advocate for myself. But
Right.
I think subconsciously we do that when we think we're at a dead end. When in reality it's like, no, if you peek around the corner, you're actually gonna see quite a few opportunities.
Yeah. And I think you're right. No one wakes up thinking I'm not going to, but also they don't necessarily wake up thinking I'm going to advocate for myself in every single way today. There's these little subconscious thoughts, I think, that pull us back from, that the times when we need to advocate for ourselves. It's kind of like, no, don't, these convincing thoughts that try to convince us to stay safe, essentially. Right.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I want to know a little bit about your story and how you learned to advocate for yourself. What sort of examples did you have in your life? And what do you draw on from your own life experiences?
So thank you. I thank you for asking that, because I started this podcast saying, no, maybe our moms will advocate for us. And I think that is where I got my drive and my sort of outlook on the world, that things are not a dead end. I can look at an institution and see that it's not a dead end. As you mentioned, I was born in Miami. I moved to the United States the summer after I completed third grade. So I was 8 years old and I moved to Miami, and the Dade County Public School System said that my age I needed to start third grade. And my mom said, no, it's like, my daughter just finished third grade. You're not going to make her waste a year of her life.
So back in Honduras, you finished third grade. And then when you came here, they wanted you to retake it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I guess the cutoff date is September 1st and my birthday is September 6th. So they wanted me to they wanted to include me in the next cohort of kids. But that, my mom said, hey, you're not going to waste a year of my daughter's life. And so my mom, with her extremely limited English as a brand new immigrant, was able to go to the school, go to the administrator, go to talk to the teachers, to the counselors, to the principal, little by little, until they finally said, hey, you know what? We're going to test your daughter out. We're going to test her out of third grade. And, you gave us all these, because she had brought my report cards from my school, in Honduras, which was an American school. So we did have that advantage. But again, like I think about that, and I think about my mom, and my mom was very young. My mom was maybe 29 years old at the time, in a country brand new, and was able to look at a school system, was able to look at a bureaucracy of the public school system in the United States and say, no, you're not going to hold my daughter back. You're going to give her what she deserves. And as I'm saying that, my voice is shaky, because every time I think about the courage it must have taken to go up to a system that you didn't know. I mean, recently, I had to self-advocate in my previous role. And again, I had to go up against a large institution, and eventually decided to leave. But again, like I have lived in this place for 20 years, so thinking
Right.
about going to a brand new country where you don't know the language and you're still going to, speak kindly, be kind, but also be resilient and also be persistent and also make sure that your family is cared for. And that's what my mom did. So my mom taught me self-advocacy from a very young age.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. And I was getting emotional too, just thinking of, yeah, your mom coming here and having so many obstacles, from language to not even knowing the system or
Yes.
the culture, and really saying, no, this is not acceptable to me or my daughter or for my daughter. And so that really drove her. And I think what I hear in that story is just like a testament of her love for you. And so that's what I think, gets your heart, right? Because moms will do anything for their kids. And that's such a great, beautiful example. And not only was she able to not waste a year of your life, but she was able to give you the gift that I'm sure she wasn't consciously intending to give you, but that example of like, no, this is how you advocate for someone that you love or something that you know is right, is the right thing.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, I love that, just making that realization of this is not acceptable to me. And I'll talk in a minute or so about, how we can advocate for ourselves. But yeah, it definitely is a testament of her love to me. And I think self-advocacy in a way is a testament of our love for ourselves.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, you're so right. You're 100% right. It really is. And because if we value ourselves, we will advocate for ourselves. Are there any other situations in your life where you've had to sort of then draw on mom's example and, advocate for yourself? It sounded like a little bit in your career.
Yes, yes. So I recently had a career transition. I spent a lot of time in higher education, and I recently transitioned into healthcare. So in my previous role, I worked for a large public school system, and it's very bureaucratic. And I got that job right out of grad school, so freshly out of grad school that I hadn't yet had my degree conferred. So when HR calculated my salary, they calculated the salary of someone who did not have a master's degree. And I did not advocate for myself when I was given the job offer, because I looked at this and, oh yeah, like HR, that's the algorithm, that's the formula that they put out for me. And I said, yes, okay, I'll take it. Um, and that stayed with me for so long, until actually Latina Equal Pay Day 2020. I had been at my job for just over a year, and I decided I need to speak up, because I something is telling me that I'm not getting paid what I'm worth. And so I asked my boss, hey, am I getting equal pay for equal work? And this man said to me, oh, there's no bonuses here, no matter how stellar your work is. I was like, oh.
You're like, I didn't say bonus.
Exactly. I didn't say bonus, first of all, but second of all, wow, way to give someone permission to be mediocre.
Right.
Right.
Yes, thank you for telling me there's no reason for me to strive for more here. Yeah.
Right. And so, but of course, that was not acceptable to me. And I said, okay, thank you for your time. I need to speak to your boss. And I had a great relationship with her. And then I spoke to her, and it actually took several months of these conversations happening for me to find out actually what had happened, that HR did not calculate my pay the way that I was informed that they would be. I was also provide my transcripts. And then regardless, that wasn't included in my salary, which was kind of a mess. And it was actually really heartbreaking because I had spent, at this point, it was maybe 3 months since my initial conversation. And each step of the way, I had to follow along. Hey, how's it going? Hey, did you speak to the HR specialist? Hey, did you speak to their boss? Did you speak to the next person up? And so for me to go through this and then be told by not only my boss, but his bosses that, hey, we looked into it and they said they can't change it. They acknowledged there was a mistake, but they said they can't change it. And so I promise you that night I started applying for jobs. Like it was immediate, like it was, unfortunately it wasn't an issue that was able to be resolved. However, it did give me the power to say, I value myself more than what this institution values me. And not only that, I value myself too much to allow myself to be in this institution. I didn't come to the United States. My parents didn't come to the United States to have their daughter be underpaid and be okay with it. You know what I mean? So I think I advocated for myself and I was still told sorry, but I didn't sit down and take it and said, hey, I guess this is my life now. I was able to get a job very quickly. And I ended up transitioning careers, which is great because it's something that had been on my mind for a while. So even though the outcome was not what I expected, the outcome was way better than I could have imagined.
Right. Yeah, it's a great example of, we have the first example of your mom advocating for you and getting the outcome that she wanted. And, this example of you advocating for yourself and not getting the exact outcome that you were asking for, but it did two very important things. One, it empowered you to go and find a place where you would be valued and paid for, what you're worth. And it also gave you data, right? It gave you the information you needed to make the decision to leave. And had you not kept asking and advocating, you wouldn't even have known that you were being paid lower than you should have been paid and that it was their mistake. So many wins there from simply continuing to advocate and push and ask the questions.
Yes, absolutely. And absolutely what I got, so many things and everything that you said, but what I want to highlight is the data. You know what I mean? Because I had this gut feeling. And when I finally decided to trust it, I was able to get the data to back up my claims, and it wasn't just like, I had the feeling. And yes, I had that feeling. But when I finally listened to it, I was able to get hard data, which is, can help you negotiate. Like my mom, she didn't just say, she's a really smart kid, I promise you. No, she said, test her out. She said, here are her report cards from her previous school. So having the data definitely helped.
Hey Explorers, we'll get back to the show in just a moment, but I wanted to take just a few seconds to invite you to the free workshop that I created. It's called The 3 Secrets to Starting Your Successful Podcast. Now, it's all about helping you to start your dream podcast so that you can share your voice and expand your business. If you want to join, just go to explorerinyu.com. It's totally free. All right, friend, back to the show. So let's talk about moving forward and, for business owners today listening. I know it sounds like you had parents, we talked before, it sounds like you have parents who are business owners, or very, very familiar with sort of that world and entrepreneurship. Can you share some tips around how to advocate for yourself in your business, especially if it's something that you're becoming more comfortable with?
Yes. Yes. And definitely as I shared with you, my start is I thought of myself as being like a brand new entrepreneur. But in reality, I have been a lifelong entrepreneur. I have been helping my parents with their businesses since like I was 10 years old or something. So definitely, especially for entrepreneurs who are just starting out or who are starting to step into their power, I would say that mindset is key, and there has to be this shift from, oh, I kind of want to go for it, but I'm not sure, to I deserve success. I have earned success. My hard work deserves to be paid. My hard work deserves to be featured. The service that I am providing brings value into others' lives. And so truly internalizing that belief is the first step. Like how you present yourself and how you feel about yourself and your business, whether your business is, selling the best pimento cheese, in all of the tri-state area, or whether your business is helping authors with their book proposal, you have to realize that the service you're providing, that you have to realize that your worth comes from within. How can someone as a business owner pitch themselves to a client if they themselves don't understand their worth? Like how can you expect somebody else to believe in the value of your goods and services if you yourself don't believe in the value of your goods and services?
Right. Yeah, that is a huge mindset shift, and one that I personally know, the journey of that, and it is hard, but once you turn that corner, it really opens you up to so many more possibilities, because you're not being your own worst. You're not standing in your own way anymore.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And that's a huge hurdle, just getting our own internal blocks and our own internal fears. Definitely. I think the next step is understanding that there will be bumps in the road and learning from them. Um, and so learning from everything. It's like, oh, I tried that and that did not work. Let me not do that again. Or, hey, I tried it and it was, really successful. Let me do it again. So kind of learning from the path and really being open to trying new things, not to be set in your ways, and understanding that entrepreneurship and success is a journey. So that's definitely something that I would say. It's like being okay with facing and overcoming both tiny obstacles and giant obstacles.
Yes, I think that's definitely been a learning experience for myself of, it's not just going to run smoothly, and my problem solving muscle is just so much stronger because
yes.
you just will not survive if you're trying to, run a business, and there's always going to be something. And I think at a certain point, when you build that muscle, it starts to become a little fun, actually, where you're just like, how am I going to solve this problem today?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely like that you called problem solving a muscle, because when we think about it, the muscles in our body, everybody just accepts that, hey, in order for your muscles to grow, in order for you to be stronger, you have to work out that muscle. You have to exercise. And muscle tissue, how it actually grows is that there's teeny tiny breaks in your muscle tissue. And that's why you're sore after you're working out. And then as it heals, it's becoming stronger. And so definitely, yeah, problem solving similarly is a skill, and and it is a muscle. And we can look at it and say, aha, I've been on this road before. I know what that bump looks like. I know to swerve, and to take a different road and to get to my success or to my goals faster. And I think the last one, take rejection with grace. Because remember that if someone is not interested in like your product or your business, that's not a reflection of who you are. You know what I mean? Like it really, if you're pitching your idea to get startup funding, and you don't get the startup funding or you don't get the seed funding, that's okay. That, your worth as a person does not diminish based on somebody else's inability to see it. And so what's important in that situation is to really remember your why. And that's really like my last key takeaway is to remember your why. Why did you start a business? Why did you want to do this? Why did you become an entrepreneur? Is it because you wanted to have freedom and flexibility? It's like, all right, well, are you willing to give that up? And just because so you can tell yourself, hey, I tried and I failed. You know what I mean? Or maybe you started a business because you wanted to spend more time with your family. You wanted to spend more time at home. Or maybe you started a business because, you know, you want to help your parents retire sooner, or for whatever freedom, whatever choices, whatever is driving your passion, why, remember that and keep it front and center, because we know that there's going to be bumps. We know that there's going to be a lot of opportunities to learn. And when we have those opportunities to learn, it can be easy to look at it as a dead end. But we have to remind ourselves that it's not a dead end, it's a learning opportunity. And let that knowledge, remember that act of self-love, drive you forward.
I love that. Yes, the act of self-love, and yeah, knowing you're being connected to your why is really important, because that's going to give you that passion, right? That fire under you to push for what you know needs to happen, or what you know doesn't need to happen. Those important decisions that need to be made and advocated for. When you have that direct line back to your why and your mission, it just makes it so much easier. And tying that back to something you said about your mom's approach, and I think that's something that we can all take forward with us in our businesses, was advocating yourself with confidence, but with grace as well, and with conviction. Like, you don't have to sacrifice any of those things. You don't have to necessarily be rude or aggressive or any of those things to, ask for what you want and be confident and clear around what you want.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that staying true to your values is so important. Excuse me. Staying true to your values is so important. Like, it's not, let me talk to the manager. That's not what I mean by self advocacy. But like you said, it's confidently and with grace advocating for what you know is right.
Yeah. And that's it can sound simple, but I think it takes a lot of courage. And
Yes.
yeah, I think it does take courage to really, because you're really essentially, you're standing up for yourself and your beliefs. And that's not always easy, because you don't always have consensus around that. You don't always have agreement or buy-in. So to do that despite any, backlash or other input that's contrary, and to stand in that, it does take some energy, and yeah, definitely some being brave there. But I think that we can all do it, as long as we know that it is in line with our values, and it is part of our truth.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I think yeah, just coming back to your values, I always start with why, what is important to you. And I think also just remember of all the women who came before you and all the women for whom you're paving the way.
I love that. And that's so timely with it being Hispanic Heritage Month, and, really thinking about whose shoulders are we standing on, who in our communities have come here to have a better life and to offer us dreams that, the possibility to dream things that they couldn't even dream for themselves. And here we are. And it's such a blessing and an
Yes,
honor.
absolutely. Yeah, exactly. It's a blessing and honor. And I think also a responsibility. How are we going to honor their actions? How are we going to honor all the pioneers, all the women who came before us? So yeah, it is both an honor, and we also have to honor them.
Yes. Well, Carla, this has been just a lovely conversation. And I think that listeners are going to really have some great takeaways in, how to just move forward in their businesses confidently, which is really, and in their lives, which is really what it's all about, right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And I hope so.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, if you want to learn more about Carla and how you can work with her, follow her on Instagram at Coached by Carla. You can book a free coaching call, and she has downloadable guides and workbooks. If you want to learn how you can work with me, you can click on the link in the show notes and book a call. I'd love to chat with you about how I can help you start your podcast. And don't forget that every podcast and Amplify episode has its own page on the exploreinu.com website, where we link all the resources for every single show. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. If you loved today's episode, please subscribe so you don't miss a show. And rating and reviewing this podcast is the best way to help support us. Always remember, your voice and what you have to offer is needed in the world. Until next week, take care.